Chase Chrisley and Jodi Fournerat have talked about a big residence move in their first interview together. The two have been dating for a while now and have made big changes in their lives since then. Fans love seeing Chase happy. However, they have talked about one of the biggest changes they have to make for their relationship. There is a lot to unfold and uncover. Keep reading to find out more about this situation. Chase Chrisley has had his fair share of relationships that fans have seen. However, this one seems to be his most solid one yet. He is dating Jodi Fournerat and has been for a good amount of time. However, for the first year of their relationship, they were doing long distance. Jodi would come to see Chase. However, due to her work schedule, she could only stay the weekend. When Chase went to see her, he could stay 2 or 3 weeks. Regardless, long distance was hard on them and their relationship. They were able to work through it and make the best decision for their relationship. Fans love seeing them so happy together. Chase Chrisley and Jodi Fournerat talked about how she had to move to Tennessee to be with him. This was a decision they had to make for their relationship. It seems as though Jodi had to move to Tennessee for the better of their relationship. Long distance was hard on them, as it is for anyone. However, Jodi was the one who had to make the big move. Regardless, it worked out for the best, and the two are in a great place in their relationship. She was also a big reason why Chase got sober. What do you think about this? Do you like them together? Sound off in the comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts on this situation. The hum of summer was already thick in the Tennessee air as Chase Chrisley packed the last of his belongings into the back of a luxury SUV. The once familiar driveway, lined with oaks and the ghosts of past routines, felt foreign now, a place they were leaving behind. But not out of impulse. This move had been building for months, quietly simmering under conversations, road trips, and what-ifs between him and Jodi Fournerat. Life had shifted since the Chrisley family's reality had crumbled under the weight of federal charges and courtroom headlines. With Todd and Julie behind bars, Chase found himself staring down the barrel of adulthood in ways he hadn't anticipated. Responsibility had arrived without asking, and grief had taken up space like a permanent tenant. But amid that storm, Jodi had emerged not as a distraction, but as an anchor. The decision to relocate hadn't been made with fanfare. It was born in the quiet, the silence after a particularly long day, the weight of his name attached to something more than headlines. Chase wanted peace and purpose. Jodi, with her grounded Louisiana roots and no-nonsense mindset, had gently pushed him to envision a different kind of life. Together, the new place wasn't in the spotlight. In fact, it was deliberately tucked away, a sprawling residence outside of Charleston, South Carolina. It wasn't just a move across state lines. It was a leap into a new chapter. The property sprawled across 5 acres, complete with an old barn, a pond that reflected morning light like a dream, and a house that needed just enough work to make it theirs. For Chase, who had grown up in a world of pristine white kitchens and camera-ready moments, the rustic charm was both intimidating and refreshing. There were no film crews here, no carefully curated backdrops, just overgrown hedges, wooden beams that creaked with age, and the faint scent of magnolias in the early morning breeze. Jodi took to the place almost immediately. Her background in aesthetics and home design proved to be more than just a hobby. It became their blueprint. While Chase had once fixated on marble countertops and name-brand decor, he now found himself invested in where the sunlight hit the breakfast nook or how the backyard might be perfect for their future dog to roam. It wasn't just a house they were building, but a haven. The unpacking came in waves. There was laughter in discovering forgotten photographs and mild arguments over whether or not to keep a set of sports memorabilia from Chase's teenage years. But with every box opened, something shifted. They weren't just moving furniture. They were weaving a life. Each room in the house began to hold more than furniture. The living room, with its wide stone fireplace, slowly took shape with soft rugs, muted colors, and a record player that Jodi insisted added soul. Chase set up a small office by the window, a place where he could think, write, plan, all things he'd rarely had time for in Nashville. The neighbors were few and far between, but curious enough. Rumors had already begun to spread. A reality star and his beautiful fiancée moving into a fixer-upper? Carolina? In this quiet, speculation brewed over the mailbox and during church potlucks. But Chase and Jodi didn't mind. Gossip was part of the package, they just didn't let it in the door. The first real test came 2 weeks after the move when the plumbing in the kitchen backed up during a storm. It could have easily devolved into chaos. The rain poured like judgment from the skies. The kitchen floor turned into a shallow pool. And for a moment, the dream teetered. But something shifted in Chase that night. Rather than call for help, he rolled up his sleeves. With soaked clothes, a flashlight between his teeth, and muddy hands, he tackled the pipes while Jodi cheered him on with towels and tea. It was messy. It was real. And it was theirs. Days blended into weeks, and the house slowly transformed. Jodi's eye for style met Chase's desire for comfort, resulting in a blend of rustic luxury. There were no film crew cutaways or dramatic confessionals, just quiet moments, the hum of vinyl on Sunday mornings, late-night takeout on the back porch, and long talks about the kind of future they were creating, one free from scandal, but not from struggle. The move had done something else for Chase. It had given him distance, not just from the city, but from the expectations tethered to the Chrisley name. In Charleston, he was no longer just a reality star or the son of Todd and Julie. He was a man navigating adulthood, making his own mistakes and finding pride in simple victories. Fixing a leaky roof, mowing the lawn, planting something and watching it grow. And Jodi, who had once been a secondary figure in a world dominated by headlines and paparazzi, was now central. She wasn't chasing fame or capitalizing on chaos. She was building. With him. Alongside him. There were still hard days. Moments when the weight of everything, his parents' incarceration, the media frenzy, the sudden shift in responsibility, would settle heavy on his shoulders. On those days, Jodi would pull him outside, take his phone, and insist on a walk around the property. Breathe, she would remind him. This is our life now. Make it count. The new residence became more than a house. It was a sanctuary, a place of restoration, a deliberate choice to turn the page. Every room held echoes of who they were becoming. The guest room was already being prepared for Jodi's younger cousin to visit during the holidays. The hallway was lined with vintage frames, some still waiting for photos. The kitchen, once flooded, had become a place of warmth, where Jodi experimented with Southern recipes, and Chase cleaned up with surprising discipline. Nights came slower here. They sat under stars, feet tangled, wine glasses half full, talking about the future, kids, careers. Maybe a podcast. Maybe not. Chase had stopped planning everything around a camera. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't trying to prove anything. He was simply living. There was a kind of power in choosing this, in walking away from the spectacle and towards something quieter, something deeper. The residence stood tall beneath the southern sky, a blend of old wood and new dreams, holding within it the quiet resilience of two people trying to write a new story. And every morning, as sunlight filtered through the white curtains and settled gently on the hardwood floors, Chase woke up beside Jodi with one thought that grew louder each day. This was home. The moving trucks rolled down the winding Tennessee road at sunrise, their engines humming with a quiet finality. In the rearview mirror, the old house grew smaller and smaller, its white walls, manicured lawn, and the shadows of a former life. Chase Chrisley watched it disappear without regret. That place held too many echoes of the past, some beautiful, some bitter, and he was ready to let go of both. Beside him in the passenger seat, Jodi Fournerat scrolled through a playlist, her mood a calm contrast to the whirlwind around them. She had been the steady hand in this new chapter, grounding Chase in moments when the future felt murky. Their move wasn't just a change of location. It was a declaration. Together, they were beginning something bold and unfiltered, away from the spotlight, away from the fallout, and closer to something real. The house they had chosen was tucked away on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina, not in the heart of the city where tourists gathered, but on a quiet piece of land nestled between salt marshes and the echo of cicadas. It was older than anything Chase had lived in before. A tall two-story residence with peeling white shutters and a front porch that sagged in the middle, like it had been waiting for someone to love it again.